let's raise a glass and have a cheers. And,
cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everybody. And I'll pass the mic over to Robert Buttercup, as we love to call him, Nieto.
Hi, everybody, and thank you. Welcome to my casa. Just here relaxing. It's a very hot day, so I thought this was actually perfect to have the Riesling today. It's nice and chilled, not too sweet, and I think it's going to be a perfect pairing. What I'm making today, I'm doing a strawberries and cream cookie sandwich, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's, I think this would be great for any special occasion, events, little parties. I think this is really going to be a lot of cool stuff to see. So let's get started. So right now I'm going to, when I was doing the recipe, I do a lot of stuff is all in metric systems. So grams is what I usually do. So when I was converting the recipe, I accidentally didn't convert the butter right. So it says a cup of butter, but it's supposed to be a cup and a half of butter. And it's perfect. I tried it out again today. I did it twice to make sure it's actually going to work. Everything else is perfect. It was just the butter. So just wanted to keep you guys on the loop on that. So we'll start right now. We're going to bring out the old KitchenAid, as you can see right there. So we're going to add our butter to that.
And the KitchenAid, for anybody who's going into like home advanced cooking, is definitely one of those must-get things. Wouldn't you say, Robert? I mean, especially now that people are baking at home.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's a must-have in the kitchen. I mean, it saves me all the time. I mean, just for even like cookies, cakes, any other batters, whipped cream, chocolate mousse. This is a great thing to use. I mean, who wants to sit there using a whisk and whipping cream for a long time while you have this guy to help you out in the kitchen? So highly recommend this. So right now we're gonna cream our butter. It's slightly chill right now, so we're gonna just break it down to get it nice and creamy. Always a paddle attachment. You don't want to use a whisk because that's going to mess up your whisk. It'll bend it and just kind of get it out of shape. So it's very important to use a paddle attachment. It might be a little loud, so if you have any questions, you might ask after this turned off.
So as that's blending in, I don't know if Robert can hear me or not. Maybe you guys can hear me as well. But Robert is a very kind and gentle person, but he's also incredibly competitive in a multitude of different ways. He does Ironmans, which is a pretty amazing thing. I know he did one recently up in Lake Tahoe a couple of years ago. And he's done the Vine Man here in the area a few times, more than once. But he also does a number of cooking competitions as well. Most recently, some of you may have seen him just this last December on the Food Network, but he was on the Holiday Wars, and he actually won Holiday Wars on the Food Network, which was really kind of cool. Hey, Robert, while you're whipping that up, are you using French butter or European butter or higher fat butter or salted butter or not?
It's a local butter. It's a high in fat. You can see it's kind of yellowish. So that's what I'm using. All right. So that's kind of what you want. This is what you're looking for, as you can see. We can see that.
Is that a salted butter or not?
It's a salted, actually unsalted butter.
Unsalted butter. Would you use unsalted most of the time, or?
Yeah, just because most of my recipes, they all have salt in it. And you can use it, but then you're going to have to adjust on your salt. So then it's not, maybe a little too salty or something.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Speaking about the competitions, I was doing those Ironman races, and I was doing it for a really long time. And then our executive chef, Justin, was just like, hey, I know you do a lot of these competitions. What about pastry competitions? And I was like, I always wanted to do them. Let me try. And all of a sudden I started doing them, and I've been doing probably about 5 to 7 years. I've been doing competitions, and it's just been a lot of fun, great experience. You always learn from these competitions, and then you just go back and do it all over again. So yeah, it's just, it's an honor to, represent my country, US, and get to be in another country and see what we actually do in the US. And, we always have pretty cool techniques as well too. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. The Food Network was an amazing experience. I didn't, realize we were going to win. I mean, we definitely pushed it a lot, and it was just really cool. Some of the stuff that everyone did on the show, and really excited about that. So yeah. So right now I just added the powdered sugar. We're just going to mix that up. While that's going, we're going to add our salt to that.
And with baking, it's always important to follow these in steps as well as you're going along, not just adding everything in one shot, right?
Yes, very correct. We call it the cookie method. You're always creaming your butter, adding your sugar, and then, adding your flour. And, if it has leavening, then that usually goes in your flour. Leavening is baking soda, baking powder. But that's usually the method that we tend to follow, only because if you try to add everything at once, it can be a disaster where it'll be more like a crumble and not actually coming together. So we're going to add our vanilla. And what I like to do too is, because when you're mixing your butter, it tends to come on the side. So it's always important just to scrape it down so it goes back to actual bottom. It's hard to see, but oops.
Just really make sure that all parts inside the bowl are all getting fully blended together completely, right?
Yes.
Wow. And the vanilla you're using, it's sometimes with some ingredients, it's really important to use the good quality part. Some of the cheap vanillas are really come across with fake artificial flavors. Am I nailing it on that one?
Yeah, exactly. This one I'm using, it's a nice quality vanilla paste is what I usually use in my products. Very aromatics, very nice aroma to it, very floral. I'm going to mix that halfway because I'm going to add a little bit of lemon to it. And if you don't, this is what I'm going to be using is a microplane. I highly recommend these two in the kitchen. I have these at home. Perfect for your lemons. So basically, we're going to add just a half a teaspoon. So we're just going to, the way I like to do it is start from the top and then work your way down. So you just like one motion.
The important part here as well is that you don't want to start getting any of the pith. You just want to get the yellow part of the lemon here. The pith is going to give you a lot more of the bitter kind of qualities off the lemon. So you're just looking for the high tone aromatics here. So
yeah, and the way you hold it, obviously you're getting pretty close to your knuckles too. So always be careful with that. But I just kind of spread my two fingers in the middle, separate them, hold in with your thumb, and then just pull back to front to back, and that's it.
So is it a half a teaspoon of lemon zest or a quarter teaspoon?
It's a quarter teaspoon.
Quarter teaspoon. Okay, yeah. Perfect.
That's going in there. So I kind of stopped it halfway. And then I'm going to just let that mix. So you're going to have a little bit of citrus notes to this cookie. And you can, if you don't want to use lemon, maybe like orange is a nice flavor as well too. And I think it would pair really well with this Riesling.
So most any kind of, you could use grapefruit if you wanted to, or something citrus, depending upon if you were using strawberry or blackberries.
Yeah, there's sometimes where I do just a citrus cookie. So I usually just take limes, lemons, oranges, and I just kind of mix it all together. And it's just a beautiful flavor. You definitely get a lot of citrus notes even after it's baked off. So here's our dough. As you can see, already come together. So what I'm going to do, because this dough is ready to go, like it's we're not going to chill it in the fridge like most doughs. I'm going to just do it right here for you guys. We're going to roll it out. Nothing like being at home playing with cookie dough.
I was gonna say the dough looks pretty crumbly, so, and you're just straight away right on the wood board. We're not putting any butter or nothing nothing down, just ready to go.
I'm going to put a little bit of flour so it actually doesn't stick. So right now I'm just kind of making sure it's all together. As you can see, it's all pretty ready to go. So here's a cup of flour, also a rolling pan. I have this plastic one. You can use a wood one if you have one. You can use PVC pipe. I recommend plexiglass. Those are really nice to use.
You could use a Kendall-Jackson Chardonnay bottle potentially,
Absolutely.
in a pinch, or maybe a Riesling bottle as well. What would potentially work? So, you can get a little creative if you're in a pinch for sure.
Yes. So a little flour there, and we're going to roll this out to 1/8 of an inch thickness. And what I like to do is I just like to make sure I just kind of pick up the dough and just move it around so it's not actually sticking, and just rotate it.
That's a pro tip. I would have never thought about it. Just do a little bit at a time, then you move it around a little bit at a time.
If it feels like it's sticking, just pick up the dough a little bit, throw a little bit underneath.
And not going too overboard with the flour. I notice it's not like you're throwing a lot down.
We don't want to try to add any more flour to it. It's just enough just so it's not sticking to the board. And because the way this recipe is made, we don't want to add any. We already have enough butter in here. As you can see, this is more like rectangle shape.
And I noticed you haven't flipped it over yet. Like my inherent, I would think I would roll it a couple times and flip it over, roll it a couple times and flip it over. That's not the case here, huh?
No. This dough's pretty reliable. It's not going to stick at the bottom. And that's why I was putting a little bit of that flour dust at the bottom. Here I'm using about a 3-inch pastry ring cutter. You can use fluted if you want a little more like nicer design on it. But here I'm just going to use a plain one right now.
I've got to say, Buttercup, you rolled that thing out in like 30 seconds. I know that would have taken me like 5 minutes just to get halfway where you were, but watching a pro do what a pro does, I'm very impressed.
Thank you. So here I am. Just gonna, and the cool thing about this dough is, if you don't want to like bake everything all at once, you can just cut them all out right now and save it for a later time in your day. Like, maybe today's Wednesday, maybe you have an event or a little party you want to do on Saturday. You can have this dough ready to go, put it in the freezer, pull it out already cut, and then just put it right into the oven, straight frozen, right onto a baking sheet, and then you can bake it.
How long would you leave it in the freezer for? How long do you think you could
I would say at least a few weeks at the most.
And you'd wrap it up pretty tight and cellophane?
I would wrap it up and then put it maybe in Ziploc bag.
Okay.
That's what I would recommend. And the cool thing is about this, if you don't want to, there's all these different techniques, but we have all the scrap dough right here. You can actually re-roll it out if you want, or sometimes if I just want to do just kind of a classic cookie, you can just press it all back together and you can roll it like a log. I just want to show you this real quick. So you can just roll it out. So you can see that. So just roll it out. If you don't want to roll it out like this way, but maybe you just want to do little cookies, you can just cut them all like this. And then put that into cinnamon sugar and then just put them on your baking sheet and bake them off. Really simple, really easy to make. And just one of my favorite little shortbread cookies.
Nothing ever going to waste, right?
Exactly. That's the goal is, we try to use everything here. So.
But that cinnamon sugar sounds like it would be almost like a little mini churro almost, huh?
Yeah. Or, there's this little Mexican cookie called pan de polvo. And it's very traditional in the holidays is they take this dough, roll it in cinnamon sugar. And this is kind of a December thing. You see them like all the time, like Mexican bakeries and stuff. So here I'm going to put, as you can see, this is the dough ready. It's not sticking, as you can see. I'm just lifting it up.
So you don't want to crowd these guys too much at all. Just give them a little bit of room.
As you can see, I have, since we're going to be making the little sandwiches, we're going to make 6 of them right now. And then the rest, we can use at a later time, or if you want to just bake them, just put another sheet pan, put them on there, and then bake it off. So this is going to go right into the oven. And that's another thing is as soon as I start, I preheat my oven to 350. So we're going to put this at 350 for 10 minutes. I have the timer here. You can see it, it's already going. So we'll put that to the side.
And you just got a nice home standard oven. I mean, I know some people have like convection ovens, things of that nature. None of that going on. Just throw it right in. Right?
So that was what I really want to do is kind of showcase, because a lot of people at home don't have a convection oven where, that's going to have like your fan that distributes all the way through. Here, I'm just using a non-convection oven. So it's just dry heat. And you just still end up with a beautiful product.
If you were using a convection oven, would you vary the temperature at all, or would you stay with the same temperature?
I would stay with the same temperature, but I would probably adjust my time just to make sure, because now you're using airflow in your product instead of just dry heat. So that's going to make a little bit of a difference.
And would you recommend convection ovens? Sorry to keep you, much with some pastries, or?
Absolutely, especially for like French macaroons, croissants. Sometimes they need that little bit of airflow. Unfortunately for me, I don't have a convection oven. Those are ones on my wish list, is to have one of those. But yeah, I would totally recommend if you have a convection, and also if it does non-convection, that's totally great. So right now, since those are going in the oven, we're going to start on the strawberry jam. Yeah, I thought this would be perfect to pair with this Riesling. It has kind of that citrus, kind of floral notes. And I thought this would be a perfect combination to do a little strawberry jam with it. So here I'm using, as a chef, we love, all the special gadgets. And so here I'm using an induction. If you don't have one, you can just use your stovetop. But what I like about this is instead of having all that heat coming around the edges of your pot, the heat is just coming directly just here instead of the side. And that's what's great about induction is it's just hitting the pan from the bottom and then just working its way up. So it's never hitting the side or it's going to scorch your product if it's a soup or a jam or something, where sometimes it could do that on a range with the fire coming off the edge.
And this may seem like a rookie question, but you're using stainless steel. You could use a Teflon coated or what have you with this. Do you recommend one thing or another?
There's some induction pans. You have to look at the pans at the bottom. Sometimes they say they are inductions. I know if I use some Teflons, oh, this is going to work, and I put it on there, and it just starts beeping. So it didn't work on me. So definitely look for stainless steel. These usually work. I know there's some other material, kind of stainless steel, that sometimes they don't work on this. So it's very important just to kind of see. Sometimes there's like a little print that says induction use. So that's really good. So I'm going to grab my strawberries that I've already diced. So I have 1 cup of small diced strawberries. We're adding our cup of sugar to that. And I took part of that.
Hey, Robert, I think we're getting a little feedback from the induction burner and maybe your computer. Or is anyone else here? There we are.
On my computer, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
No, maybe not. Just there's a weird feedback sound. I hope it's not just me, but anyway, I'll keep going. Do you just added the sugar? You're stirring the sugar and the strawberries together.
You can see that. So it's just the strawberries and the sugar right now. So why I'm doing this is it's getting a little smoky, so it's coming up. But I'm trying to get this activated because you don't want to add your pectin cold into the whole product because it consumes up. And also I mixed it with some of the sugar, so you're not adding just the pectin straight to the product itself, because it will tend to just clump up, and you won't be able to lose that. It will just stay clumped up. So it's always important to mix it with part of the sugar.
Robert, unfortunately, there's a lot of feedback coming ever since you turned that induction burner on. You sound like kind of a digital version of yourself. You didn't mention what's the temperature that you have the induction burner on?
So I have it at 1200 watts, and let me see, 210 is what I have it on.
Okay, so when you just touched that, your feedback went down dramatically. Is there a way that you could plug that into something that's close by, and maybe you're plugged into the same outlet together that's causing the feedback? I'm not quite sure. I'm kind of guessing right now at this point.
Um,
No, you know what? It's a little less right now, so we'll just go with it and see how it rolls. So,
Okay.
yeah. So okay, so you have it at about 1200. Is that what you said?
1200 watts or 210 Fahrenheit.
Okay, so I hopefully it's a little bit better. We had a couple of comments asking what temperature was, and that they couldn't understand what you're saying. So I think it's a little bit better now. Thank you for working with us.
Absolutely. So now I'm adding the pectin and sugar mixture.
Okay, so.
We're just gonna let that boil.
So we had a question, and the comment is, please clarify what's going into the jam. It was unclear from the written recipe if we are putting in a half a cup plus 2 tablespoons or just half a cup.
It's just half a cup. So what I did was, and sorry about that. So
Not a problem. We're just making sure, because you know how these recipes are a little touchy, right?
yeah. So basically, it's a half a cup. I'm taking 2 tablespoons. Well, I just want to make sure.
All right. It's a little feedbacky again. So but you would just a half a cup at this point, and not the 2 tablespoons.
Exactly. So basically, I'm pulling out from that half a cup the 2 tablespoons of the sugar.
Okay, hopefully that's clear. If it isn't, we can get another question coming back into there. So right now you were just cooking down the sugar into the strawberries, letting them kind of melt down into one another, kind of absorbing all together, right?
Yes, you can see that.
Oh, yeah. Quite hot. So I did have a chance this afternoon. I talked to our farmer, Tucker. So we have a question that says, can we use raspberries? And yeah, we could totally use raspberries in this.
Absolutely. You can use raspberries, berries. You know, you might just have to adjust the recipe a little bit. It really depends on how much juice you have in those raspberries or blackberries. Because sometimes they also have pectin in there as well. There's a thickening agent in raspberries and blackberries, so you might have to adjust the recipe a little bit.
Okay. You're for some reason, all of a sudden you sound way better. I don't know what happened or what changed, but at this moment, everything's a lot better. So we're still a little bit unclear about the 2 tablespoons. So please describe it one more time. Your voice was really coming and going. So.
Okay, absolutely. So in the recipe, you have a half a cup of sugar. You want to pull out 2 tablespoons of sugar out of that half a cup. And then you can mix your 1 teaspoon of pectin together.
Okay, so you take the half cup, take 2 teaspoons out, and then you add the teaspoon of pectin to that, and then you're good to go with what you add to all the strawberries.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. And hopefully that's clear. We're working through this together. As that's cooking down, I did have a chance to talk with our good friend Tucker Taylor. I think you might have got those strawberries from him. But he did mention one thing for sure is that, when you're buying these strawberries, if it's possible, when you can, to buy organic strawberries. Strawberries are one of those things that's right on the ground, and they get sprayed a lot. And because of their thin skin, they absorb quite a lot of, if they're conventional strawberries, can be some chemicals. But make sure that you do wash them really well. And if and whenever possible, do buy organic berries, just because, what you eat is what's inside those things. And you'd like to try to be as organic as possible with what you put in yourself.
Absolutely. So here, as you can see, I'm going to pour the jam into a little stainless steel cup or bowl. This is what's going to go in. And that's my timer for the cookies. See how those look? Oh, that's beautiful. As you can see, that's what they look like. If you want to add a little more color to it, if you want a little more gold into it, kind of toasty, you can leave it in there for about another 2 minutes. But I think it looks good right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on a cooling rack. As you can see, you can use one of these. These are made for sheet trays, half trays. You can use a trivet, which are made for like pots, like soups when they come off the stove. You can put it on the trivet. You can use one of these as well too. So this is what I do just to cool down your cookies faster instead of just letting them sit there while they're still warm. If you just grab, and you have to be careful obviously, grab the end of your parchment paper and just let it slide.
So sometimes it's important to get those things cooling quickly so they don't overcook for sure, yeah?
Exactly, yeah. And now I can just lift it, right? Because it's not on that hot tray anymore. Now it's cooling from the top and it's cooling from the bottom as well too. So I'm going to set this to. Thank you.
So we had a question. Did we miss the citric acid with the jelly?
Did I not say that? If I didn't say it, I'm sorry about that. I put it in with the sugar and I just mixed it.
Okay, so that in this case, we could put everything in at one time then.
Yes, yeah.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Correct.
It would appear we have a lot of people who are definitely following the recipe in there and are paying quite a lot of attention.
Thank you. So here, if you want to cool your jam a little faster, I recommend just taking a bowl, stainless steel, put some ice in it, some water. So now you have an ice water bath here. Drop it in, and that'll cool it down, as you can see. I'm going to set this to the side for now.
So we have a question, Robert. So it says, so the pectin and the sugar or the heated sugar, sorry, confused. So I think, what we're trying to say is the pectin, the sugar, the citric acid, all those were together in that cup that we took a couple of teaspoons out of and then added a teaspoon. We also added a little bit of citric acid to all of that in one shot.
Yes,
and that went into the bowl with the strawberries cooking, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, I think that we're all on the same page now.
Yeah.
Sorry, when you were doing a bit of that, the feedback, I think the induction burner was causing some sort of loud noise, so it was a little weird.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think we're all on the page
I
together.
mentioned it just because I was starting to cook, so I didn't think about it because I was like, okay, I knew I was going to do it, already have it to go because it just kind of saves a step. And so I mixed it in with the sugar.
Not a problem. We're all on it together now. So that and the jelly looks awesome, by the way. So
thank you. So we're going to take our bowl that we were using for our cookie dough, and we're going to make our buttercream.
So you can kind of use the seasoned bowl already. It's already got a little butter and a little sugar in there. It's totally fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cuts down on the dishes, so to speak, right?
Yeah, exactly. So here we're adding our cube butter to it. Our shortening. And we're going to cream that. Oops.
So the recipe says cream butter. Is that a typo, or that's just the butter that we have that we're mixed up? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So it's just creaming the butter and the shortening together.
Perfect. Okay. And what is the shortening? What do you use for shortening?
So that goes in the buttercream itself. And
Are you using Crisco or are you using?
yeah, I'm using Crisco. I feel that it's very pliable. It's very creamy to the buttercream. It's stable. It's very stable. Once you get it in the fridge, it'll harden up enough, but not like too much. Same thing, we're gonna scrape down the bowl just to make sure that it gets all soft and creamy.
Is there a point where you can kind of over whip this, like where you can get too much air in there?
If you let it go for a while, I think it'll turn color. It's kind of like cookie dough too. If you just keep on whipping it, it'll eventually have air in it. I've seen cookies like that where they're over whipped, and so they tend to bleed because there's too much air in the product. But sometimes people love it like that too. So. So as you can see, it's nice and creamy. So now we're going to add our powdered sugar. We have our vanilla and we have our salt. So I'm going to add our powdered sugar to that.
So just to be clear, so we know it's powdered sugar, vanilla, and the salt all in one right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'm doing first, I'm just going to let it mix and then just going to add in our vanilla and our salt to it. Our salt's going in. And then our vanilla. And then obviously, when we finish with the buttercream pastry bag, if you don't have a tip, that's okay. You can just cut it to, I would say, about a 1/2 inch hole. But if you can get a pastry tip, you know, you have more control and you can type as much as you want on there. Also recommend, if you don't have a plastic container, you can use, you know, a glass or some kind of Tupperware, you know, same kind of form. And this is just so when you're trying to deposit your buttercream into the pastry bags, you know, nobody's around. So this is always good. This is always a good technique. You just basically just push down your pastry bag inside of the container, and then you just grab the sleeve and you just push down like this. So now you got this where you can deposit your buttercream into here.
I've also seen people use everything from like a Ziploc sandwich bag or a freezer bag that you can kind of shove down into a larger pint glass or a ball jar. If you don't have, you know, if you don't have fancy things and you're trying to kind of make do, there are a few other little, you know, like bachelor air quotes here, things that you can kind of improvise with, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can show you, if you don't have any of those.
And while you're looking around there, Robert, again, was this the same vanilla that you used last time? What was the name of that, of the name brand of the vanilla?
Yeah, the Nessie Melt, I'm blanking on the name right now. It's the same vanilla.
Okay.
I just love it. I think it's a good product. Again, it has that beautiful notes, that floral flavor to it. I was just going to say, if you don't have, you can always make your own pastry bag. This is another cool technique, very easy. And I could just show you real quick just how I do it in the kitchen. So you can see. So basically, I'm going to just take, so you can see that. I'm going to just cut right here in a triangle. So that's the most important thing, is you want to cut in a triangle shape here. So you want to just cut like that. You can see that. So now you're left with this little triangle parchment paper. So basically how you do this, you take this end piece right here, you're going to go all the way connect to the very top. You can see, and you can see it's already starting to form your own pastry bag. And then you take this other side and then you just bring it back to the top. And now you have your own pastry bag if you want to do it this way too.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So, and I do this all the time. I use this when I'm not just for buttercream fillings, but if I'm doing it for chocolate writing, like I had to write happy birthday on a cake or something. So I take the same one and I'll tighten it up a little bit more, and I'll show you what I'm telling you or talking about. So basically, we're just going to get it a little tighter, and this one requires a little more ravel going around. And what it's doing at the same time, it's making that tip firmer, because now you got all that paper just keeps on going and going, and you got this beautiful round little hole it's hard to see, but if you can adjust it. And the way I do that is when I get it tight right here, you can see that I'm basically pulling with my thumb and my index finger, and I can adjust this by holding that, and I can just make it tighter. You can see that how it just went smaller, or you can just open.
That is really cool, Robert. Wow.
And that's just using these two fingers right here. So yeah, if you wanna write on a cake, you can just use this, and this is perfect. You can see it's just unraveling and getting tighter, and it's really firm right on the tip. So this is perfect for chocolate writing. And then here, where it meets up, you just fold those in. You just tuck it in. And I used to do these all the time at the restaurants because we always had birthdays, anniversaries. So I always had these ready to go. Just, hey, we have a cake, right? Happy birthday on it. So these were always handy to have. So there you go. It looks like a cornet, you can see.
That is such a great pro tip right there, Robert. That's huge. That's great. And you can put jelly in there, like and
you can do jelly
or yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, these are perfect for, obviously chocolate. So keep it by the warmer where the chocolate stays nice and warm, melted, and then you just grab it, start writing what you want.
All right there. Pro tip, everybody. Take note.
Yeah.
And also, because you're using the parchment, it's a lot nicer than, depending on, if you're going to be doing a lot, not having to use a plastic bag and more waste, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's it's just cool, just because a lot of people don't see it, so it's good to see this instead of like a Ziploc bag. So let's check our cookies. They're almost there. All right. So as you can see, our buttercream's ready to go. Nice and creamy.
I'm really glad that you're a triathlete, Buttercup, because being around all this amazing pastries and butter and sugar and things like that, I'm amazed you stay as thin as you do, as much as you do, as long as I've known you. You've been a very in shape, super active guy. So
yeah, thank you. I have to try everything. So that's the thing. It's like, yeah, I guess try everything, but I have to go work it off too now. So so here I'm gonna put my buttercream into the pastry bag. And I was going to say, if you don't fill it all the way, that's okay. I was just going to show you this as well. This is always a good tip. So here, sometimes people won't, I close this off actually, so I twist it. As you can see, I have a pastry tip on there. So I twist it and just push down in there. So then none of your product's going to go through here. So I'll just push down for now, but as you can see, it's just waiting for it to come out. So once I push on it, it'll just start unraveling, as you can see that.
Tricks of the trade, once again.
Yeah, and I do this for not just buttercreams, but ganaches, sometimes jams if I'm filling up something, and that's what I usually do. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of pinch it, and then I'll just give it a little twist and just put my thumb in there. You can see that. And it's, you can refill it if you want again.
And would it be safe to store that for a little bit if you wanted to put it in the fridge that way, or once you're done, in one shot, you just done kind of a thing?
Well, if you're done with it, I would, you can do a couple of things actually. You can just pipe it into a container or a Ziploc bag. You can usually freeze buttercream. You just got to bring it out to room temp and re-whip it, because sometimes it'll start like breaking down, but then once you whip it again, it'll come back together. All right, check our cookies.
So Buttercup's really good at multitasking. One of the things that he was really busy with competitions when I got to know him was he was practicing for a very big cooking competition that happens once every couple of years in Europe. And I know I'm gonna say this wrong. It's is it Mondial d'Art de Sucre? Did I get it close?
Mondial d'Art Sucre.
Sucre, okay.
And
But this was a really cool competition where you were able to represent our country and show off some skills with a lot of people.
yeah, it was, I only had 3 months to prepare for that competition, and none of the showpieces were designed yet. So I was pretty busy for those past 3 months. At work, I would come home, I would make the showpieces here. Just kind of a little talk about it. This competition is male and female. There's 2 members on a team, and you have to do 3 showpieces. You have to make 20 plated desserts, 20 small little ice cream cakes, 5 customized cakes, and then you have to also do 60 confectionaries in 19 hours. So they give you 10 hours the first day, 9 hours the second day. But it's, obviously it's a lot of training. So, when you get to these competitions, it's pretty much like orchestrated. You kind of know where everything is. You're not like looking around, because you practice so much at it that you know where everything is. You know that your tools are at the bottom, your spray guns are on the side, and you know where your teammate is, and everything is timed. Like your cake has to be out at noon, and then within like an hour and a half, another product goes out to the judges. So yeah, it's just well orchestrated, well organized. It's just it was just a great feeling to be a part of it, and we came in 5th, out of 16 countries, and to work only 3 months, that was actually really good for us.
And that isn't that one of the highest placings America's had before too, as well? Am I right with that also?
Well, in the Coupe du Monde, it's a different competition, but it also happens in France, and that's in Lyon. We came in 1st back in 2000, so that was like a really highlight, for the U.S. To get 1st place, especially in France.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let me see about this. I'm gonna check my jam. So my jam is there, as you can see. See how ready there. And I'm gonna show you how to assemble this. So this is what I like to do. So, because jams, they can be sometimes runny, and you don't want this to kind of ooze out of your cookie. So what I like to do, I'll actually hold the cookie down and have your pastry tip directly on your cookie and just force it out. You can see. And you're basically just making a ring around that cookie dough. You can see that.
It looks like you're just lightening up a little bit as you come by and kind of graze it, yeah?
Yes.
Does it complete the circle? Okay.
Exactly. Just one motion. Okay. And then, what I like about this, it's like a surprise. Especially for your guests, you just put this in the middle. Grab your top cookie, because the one I'm doing is this is your bottom, And basically, this is your top. You push on that. You can see. Press it a little bit so it kind of makes contact with the top cookie. And if you want, you can then put these in the fridge for a little bit and it'll set up the buttercream. And I'll pull one out for you.
Well, he makes that look so easy, doesn't he? When he pipes that out just like that, just, oh yeah, no problem. One perfect little circle here. Nice and smooth.
So here's one that I just wanted to show you. I put this one in the fridge. This has been in there for about 10 minutes. So it's firm. I'm going to cut. See if you can see that.
Can you freeze these, or we just refrigerate them once you've got them made?
Refrigerate them. See how you see? Now you have the jam showing.
Oh, that looks delicious.
And that's how you do it. Yeah. This is how you make these strawberry and vanilla buttercream cookie sandwiches.
That's delicious. So we have a question that came through. So when you use the flour, what grams are you using for flour for 1 cup?
Grams of, so I would have to actually go back to do that because I can actually do it because I always think these are helpful to have. Great investment to have a scale at home. Doesn't have to be huge, but just enough to do at least, 5 pounds at the most. So if you want, you can just weigh put your flour in your cup and then take that cup and put your flour in a bowl and dump it onto your scale. And that'll give you the exact amount of flour on that.
I'm sorry, I was muted there for a second. How long do these cookies stay good for once you've got them all baked out of the oven?
I would say they would last a couple of days. It's something that you don't want to just sit on just because, that jam is there. And, in time, it's just going to probably start bleeding into the cookie. So it's something you want to serve, probably that day, possibly for sure the next day you want to serve these.
And we did say not to freeze them, refrigerate them. If you were to refrigerate them, how much longer would you be able to go with that?
In the fridge?
Yeah.
You can keep them there until, like, say if you're having a party and it's at nighttime, you can make them ahead, probably say 3 o'clock and then serve them at 8 o'clock. That's totally fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And any little other hints or things that you would substitute with any of these? So we talked about substituting some of the fruits. So seasonally, you could do other kind of strawberries, berry type things.
I mean, if you want like more texture for your cookie, like on the outside, you can always put an egg wash on it and sprinkle like raw sugar, so it's like crunchy. That always adds a cool texture to the cookie as well. You can find those like crystal cookies or crystal sugar. You can add that to here as well too. Different colors. If you want to add that, this is what I use. The same cookie for the holidays, like when you see Christmas cookies, like the Christmas tree or a candy cane. I use this cookie, and I'll just sprinkle the egg wash it, put the sugar on it, bake it off. It's ready to go.
A couple other questions were, how much further ahead can you make both the jam and the buttercream?
So the jam, you can actually make it and freeze it if you're not going to use it right away. And that's the great thing about that. You just make it. You can probably have it in the freezer for about a month. Let it thaw out. And then just put it right into the middle.
And the buttercream, how much ahead of time can you do buttercream? That's a little more sensitive, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would say about a few weeks. You can actually put them in the freezer. The only thing is they end up getting moisture, and so sometimes they will end up breaking, and that's totally normal. And that's just because it's so cold that the oils in it tend to separate. But once you bring it back up to room temp and start whipping it, it'll actually emulsify back together again.
Okay. So it's not a big problem if it does come out looking a little weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen it where this is the way it looked is I seen buttercreams where they almost look like cottage cheese. And I was like, oh my God, what just happened? And that's just because there's moisture, because when you're freezing it and then thawing it out, you get that moisture in there. And what happens, it just kind of separates it. But after you start whipping it and it's starting to come room temp, it'll actually come back together.
You'd probably Ziploc freezer bags would be the best thing possible for the jam and for both of these, or?
Yeah, I would recommend, well, for the jam, I would probably put it in like some kind of Tupperware, some kind of plastic container. For the buttercream, I would put it in Ziploc bag. And then, just if this is a Ziploc bag, you can just press it down where it's nice and flat. So then when you pull it out, you don't have this like big piece of like almost block of butter that's just waiting to temper and temper. But if you have it thin enough where it's flat, it'll actually start tempering faster and it will thaw faster as well.
And I would definitely say this is a Riesling friendly drink. I think a rosé would be a round bodied rosé would be fun with this as well. I don't think I'd drink anything with too much heavy tannin on it. I know that on your wine store right now, we have the Bienvolio sparkling. That's kind of fun. That would be a fun pairing with this also. But definitely through our wine club here at Kendall-Jackson, I would be looking for the Vintner's Reserve Riesling or maybe the Vintner's Reserve Muscat as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Which is a delicious summer wine as well. Just a touch of sweetness, but enough acid to keep it bright and fresh while you're sipping it on the porch. Anything else that you might say, Buttercup? Any other questions that we have from anyone? We're just about coming to the end of time, but we don't mind staying on as long as anyone has questions or more things of that nature. You can always reach out to us, to Diane, through the wine club. If you have, if we don't answer any questions or something comes back up, you can always reach Buttercup as well. And, but they can get a hold of you, through your regular email, which Diane can help with people with. But tell them about your Instagram as well.
Yeah. So, you can follow me. You can follow me at Chef Buttercup. It's been going on for more than 10 years. My boss, Chef Justin, gave me that name, and it's stuck around ever since. And I was just like, why is he calling me that? And then after a while, it kind of grew on to me, and it was just like, I actually like it. It's like very catchy. Like you can't forget Chef Buttercup. I was like, I'm just going to roll with it. So I started an Instagram page, and, it's just a lot of fun to have. And I get to be creative and showcase like what I do at Kendall-Jackson. And then, it's just what, when I was competing, I was showcasing all the showpieces or plated desserts. And so, it's been a lot of fun.
And it is really fun to follow you because you also post pictures of food that you personally make, but you go to a lot of exciting restaurants with your wife, and you're able to showcase a lot of your other friends making some elaborate dishes in the area as well, which is always fun to see.
Yeah, it's absolutely like when you're in this industry, it's always good to see what other chefs are doing and just like, wow, I didn't think about that. That's pretty cool. And so, it's always just is never ending in the kitchen. So there's always cool things to come up with. And then obviously with Tucker Taylor, with his amazing garden, there's always beautiful product out there, beautiful herbs, vegetables. So we're always excited to see what's coming up.
So we had one last double checking question. The dough is only half a cup of butter, not 1.5 cups of butter, correct?
It's 1.5 cups. Now
1.5 cups of butter.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Thank you for checking in on that one and double checking. We had a little bit of that was going on. There was some feedback, so I'm glad we were able to clarify.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
any other questions for anyone out there? So one other thing we can brag about Buttercup, he doesn't brag too much. We pull it out of him, but there's a magazine called Dessert Professional. And in 2016, he was named in the top 10 dessert chefs for America, which is also a nod of the hat for sure and a lot of respect. So that's a lot of the pastry chefs out there in a lot of different positions. So top 10 in the country is a big honor for sure.
Yeah, thank you. That was such an honor. Dessert Professional Magazine reaching out and just letting you know that, hey, you've been nominated as the top 10 pastry chefs of America. And it was just like, wow, this is amazing that, in this country, they only chose 10 people to go to New York and showcase your dessert there. And it was just amazing.
All right. Well, let's see. We have delicious. Thank you, Chef Buttercup, and people saying it was great and fun to follow along, that the recipes are really tasty. Is this going to be on the Kendall-Jackson page? Yes, we will have a link on the Kendall-Jackson page, and I'll leave this question up so that way Jessica can answer that and provide a link. We will have a link to this on I believe on our website, and then we can see if Diane will probably post one for our wine club people as well. I think that would be one of our last questions in our chat as well. Just everyone's loving everything and loving your recipes as always, Buttercup.
Thank you for everybody.
Yeah, I think we're probably pretty good at this point. We're at about 5 o'clock, and any other questions start coming up. It's good to see your face. We should mention Buttercup is at home. That's why he doesn't have a mask on. There's nobody around, so we're working as safe as can be, and we're definitely adhering to all the rules when we are at Kendall-Jackson. But today we get to see his smiling face because he's there in his kitchen by himself and with his wife and his dog, luckily. So that's one of the reasons why we are the way we are right now. So
yes.
Thank you all for tuning in and checking in. Next week, we had a little Q&A at the end of last week's questions, and it looks like Chef Justin and Tracy are going to be doing some duck confit next week. Is that true, Robert?
That is correct.
Oh man, that Liberty duck. If people, if you were able to get a link to how to get some of the Liberty duck for next week's cooking class, hopefully you were able to get a link. If not, send in an email to Diane Bono at the Kendall-Jackson Wine Club, and she can help provide you a link. But it is going to be to Liberty Duck Farms, which is a particular little farm outside of Petaluma that is
Right.
a champion in raising some of the most sought after duck on the west coast of California for sure, and definitely all of Northern California. So we're really looking forward to having those ducks.
Yeah, and right now we actually have Liberty Ducks right now on our food and wine pairing right now. So it's really amazing. We just switched the menu last week, and I tried the duck, and it was just like, wow, I could eat that whole duck. It was just amazing.
It is really tasty. And if you're looking for a link to these in the chat right now, there is a link to the Kendall-Jackson blog I see there, and people will be able to come on. And it looks like Justin's here online as well. Jessica, can you unmute Justin, and maybe we can let him talk a little bit about what might be going on next week? Let's see if he becomes unmuted in 1 second. Here we are. Justin, how you doing? I see it. There we are. Here we are.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. How you doing?
Hello. Good. How did Buttercup do today?
He did great, and you're live still with everybody here. So you're definitely coming through on the webinar right now. Hopefully you can tell us a little bit about next week and the Liberty Farms duck confit.
Yeah, next week, I'll be doing the duck class, and we're doing the
Hold your maybe.
So the cookbook, actually 2 dishes. We're gonna get a whole duck in, and with the legs and the eggs, and how to cook the breast as well as some.
Oh wait, okay. Hey Justin,
and a little salad with. Yep.
Justin, where you are right now, we couldn't hear too much of the beginning of what you were saying. You were breaking up and coming through a little pixelated almost, but verbally. Yeah. So you're going to get in a couple of ducks, and you said, you were going to confit the legs?
Yeah, we're going to confit the legs, then we're going to cook the breast, and we're going to make a roast eggplant puree with pickled blackberry salad.
Yeah, that sounds like a Pinot Noir meal for sure, huh? Maybe a GSM also. One of the two of those.
Yeah, probably Pinot Noir for us, but if you got some GSM, that'd probably be good as well.
All right. Well, it was a little hard to hear you there for a second, but you did come through at the second time. So the meal does sound delicious. I kind of know that dish a little bit from being around you for a little while. I have had a few of those things, and that's one spectacular meal for sure. So definitely looking forward to tuning in next week and going through that. Oh, and I mentioned GSM. A GSM is a Grenache Syrah Mourvedre blend that we produce with Kendall-Jackson, and I do believe it's available through the Wine Club. It's only available once in a while at the beginning of spring. So talk to Diane in the Wine Club, and you might be able to get a little bit when it's released. It's a Grenache Syrah Mourvedre blend. So. Justin, thanks for jumping on here at the end. Buttercup nailed it. It was a lot of fun watching him put together his little strawberry sandwich. So, yeah, there it is. And hey, tell us one more time, how are we going to get the Liberty Duck? Can people order directly to Liberty Duck? Excuse me.
Yeah, I think Diane's working with Jennifer Riker to put up a link, and then they can overnight ship it next week. So there should be a link coming out soon about that.
And it looks like there's a link that just popped up right there for everybody in the chat room once again. So please, thank you for answering that question right away. Anybody else, any other questions about next week and what you might need for ingredients or anything of that nature? Along with the Liberty Duck, I'm sure we'll send you out a detailed menu for what you might need to get so you can cook along with us or make it as at home as well. Yes, Justin?
Yeah, they should have a recipe they're sending out as well.
Perfect.
And the cool thing about the Liberty Duck is normally they don't ship this to people at homes, but because all the fine dining restaurants are just kind of starting to reopen right now, so they were willing to ship it direct to the consumer for this.
That's great. I'm glad we have that great relationship with them for such a long time that they're able to work with us this way. What a unique opportunity this is for our wine club members. All right. Well,
it should be a fun one.
It should be a really fun one. I think that we've come to the end of our questions, and we're a little over 5. No one's kind of popped up anything in a little bit. So I really look forward to doing another cooking class with you guys next week, Justin and Tracy and Robert. Thank you so much for having us at your home.
Absolutely.
And inviting us in and giving us such an amazing lesson. And once again, if people need to get a hold of you, they can send you an email yes. Or reach out to you through Instagram at Chef Buttercup.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we look forward to another one of these next week. And cheers, everyone. Enjoy your Riesling.
Yeah. Cheers. And
all right.
sweet evening.
Yeah. Have a great evening, everyone. Take care.